All right, guys. Welcome, everybody. Thank you to the organizers of this amazing conference so far. We have on the panel here Knut, Andre, Troy, and Jeff. We had the opportunity to get to hang out in Madeira back in June because Andre is doing some amazing work there. And we're going to talk about that. But first of all, we have a little video to show. So I'm hoping that's going to start on that cue.
Deep in the North Atlantic Ocean, near the northwest coast of Africa, there lies the autonomous region of Madeira, where 20 Bitcoiners are trying to achieve the unthinkable.
Madeira is going to be competing with the likes of countries that adopted it already, like El Salvador.
In this video, I will show you how we gathered people from all over the world to embark on a secret mission to try to convince the president of Madeira to embrace Bitcoin on the island.
If this goes right, magic could happen here. I love this guy. Look at him.
Everything started with this Bitcoiner. His name is André and he's from Madeira.
Strange feeling to be.
Good morning, Mr. Bitcoin.
Good morning.
And he had a pretty crazy idea. What would happen if he tries to convince the president of Madeira to embrace Bitcoin?
And then there was a chain of events, crazy chain of events that led to that.
He was reaching out to a couple of Bitcoiners from all over the world, and all of them came to Madeira to help him to make this happen. So the goal is to convince the president to embrace Bitcoin, and that's why we are all here.
We started off by introducing everyone around the table, and that's why I can say I'm very impressed by the brain power at the table.
A fantastic group of people here, effectively trying to integrate Bitcoin into the economy here and finding the best path to de-risk it for the government to be able to bring Bitcoin adoption here and build the future of Madeira on a monetary standard that's sound and attract global talent to Madeira. So really exciting first steps.
We just discussed do we want to frame Bitcoin, how do we want to frame the Bitcoin mining, just to make a general overview about the strategy.
And yeah, we're setting all this up now at the speed of light to help the government pursue the Bitcoin strategy for Madeira.
Well done, guys. Filmmaker is right there. That's brilliant work. That's the first time I've seen that. Thank you, Max. And you, Aaron, thank you. Questions? What do you pay money for? You come here to ask these guys questions. There's one. Energy sources on Madeira. Troy, this is why he was brought along to talk. We did actually meet with the energy company, by the way, so go for it.
Yeah, I mean, Madeira's an island. It's very far from most energy infrastructure. And the big picture is it's thermal. They import fossil fuel energy for the most part. But it's also a laboratory for Europe in the development of green energy, precisely because it is an island, and it's an extreme case of developing renewables without firm backing to the extent they can get it. So the government has set very ambitious goals, the government of Portugal, the EU, and Madeira, to try to decarbonize their energy, but it's going to be extremely difficult to achieve that, given that it is an island and has no connections. So yeah, right now, energy is subsidized largely by the EU. Energy prices are the same as Portugal, but it costs actually about double to produce because it's very expensive to ship fossil. And yeah, Madeira is going to encounter the problems of a renewable grid much sooner than other grids precisely because they're isolated. And so some of the questions that I was am asking, is how might Bitcoin mining help to both finance the build out of renewables and stabilize a highly renewable grid? I won't say any more unless I get pressed further.
Andre, do you have anything to add there about the energy mix on Madeira, seeing as you are the local man there?
Well, I'm not an expert on energy. That's why it's so good to have Troy on the advisory board and helping us with that. My only view is that I know, and I'm not the technical guy, but I know that Bitcoin can be used in a lot of stuff in the island to help us, basically. As Troy said, we're an island. Electricity cannot escape from there. And it's just a matter of, bringing to the power company the knowledge to do this. And that's why we're setting up and helping them do this, basically.
And on more of a personal note, I wanted to touch on Knut and Jeff here. We spent 4 or 5 days on the island altogether. What was your biggest takeaway from spending time on Madeira? And from a personal standpoint, how did you feel about what was going on there, the meetings we were having?
Are you talking about the poncha?
I'm talking about the poncho as well.
Yeah, no, you saw a little bit in the video. When you're around incredible people doing something like that, what's not to love? That's a start. What I wanted to know specifically when I went was the president serious about Bitcoin adoption on Madeira? That's what, and how would that look? Being inside the EU, needing subsidies from the EU, and was it going to be stable? Did he understand it enough to be able to understand what was going to happen, so that you could build a strategy that was a long-term strategy? And part of the reason I wanted to know that is, would I buy a place in Madeira? It's beautiful. The services are incredible. The people are friendly. It's such a great spot, and you're an hour from you're so close to Europe. So if I bought a place in Europe and in Madeira and I had a EU visa, that sounds like a pretty good arbitrage in the world and what's happening in the world. A safe place to go, an island nation, a safe place. But was it stable enough when? Kind of what I thought is, as this system breaks down, governments are going to be faced with choices. And they're going to ride the fiat horse or the Bitcoin horse. And for a while, they're going to have to be able to ride 2 horses, and then they're going to have to choose. And because you won't be able to ride 2 horses. And so what I wanted to know is, how serious was the commitment there? And what I came away with from that is a very, very serious commitment. And Madeiran's president understands Bitcoin is forming the new base layer of the new internet, and it's global in nature. And what that means is an island nation such as Madeira can compete globally and can be the new Silicon Valley. And that was really encouraging. And as he starts to understand that, he realizes, I need to move as fast as I can here, while still staying in the EU, so that we can build a really strong economy here. And so I came away, besides just an incredible trip with friends, I came away with wow, this is real. I can't tell you, new government, if something's going to change. I can't tell you that it's completely de-risked for a long term, but what I can tell you is, in the world where we are today, I'm personally going to make a choice to buy in Madeira, because because I see it's a really, it feels like a good bet on where things are going.
And Knut, we had some pretty surreal times over there. Can you tell everybody what was going through your mind?
Yeah, this was not my first time on Madeira. I've been there as acting as very many different personalities, or what you may call it. I was there as a sailor for the first time with a small boat, and then on a bigger boat and stuff. So when this opportunity came up to meet the president and be in this incredible group of people and try to change the world, I like what else am I going to do with my life? I need to see this through, and the dedication in this group is just fantastic. We were there brainstorming and having fun for like, how long were we there? It felt like 2 days, but it was probably more like 10. So I'm really excited about this project and finally being able to talk about it to you guys. And you know, whatever questions you may have about this, you might have heard gossip about this project, but we haven't announced anything officially yet. So this is it. This is where we announce the project, and proud to be here and happy to take your questions.
So the project, Andre, why don't you tell everybody about Free Madeira, how that came to be, and the ethos behind it, and the vision?
So it all came to be with the crazy idea of taking the president to Miami. You know, I was seeing, and Jeff is the guy to talk about it. You know, how the world is cracking, and we need to find a bridge to the alternative that is forming. And I was seeing that happening, and I was seeing a lot of very low adoption and very low knowledge in Madeira. So when the opportunity came about of, you know, taking the president, the guy who decides stuff, to see it on another level, I took it, and with the help of an amazing group of people, it came to fruition. And then we started, you know, studying what was the best strategy to develop this idea, and we came up with the Free Madeira initiative. That we're setting up this non-profit that will basically guide the government on all Bitcoin stuff, and it will be focused a lot on adoption, education, especially. We are already working with Looking Glass, for example, on the education department, and we are translating their courses to Portuguese and adapting them to in-person classes to help the Madeira people, you know, understand better the technology. It's also very important for us as an island that our immigrants understand better the technology and they use it. We have a very big diaspora outside of Madeira, and especially in Venezuela, for example. And just for perspective, in Madeira we are 280,000 people, inhabitants, and just in Venezuela, if you count second and third generation Madeiran people in Venezuela, it's estimated to be 1.3 million people there. So there's this huge connection, and with all the, you know, as you all are well aware of the problems, you know, with remittances through the traditional means, we want to help them as well and educate them. How can you use the Bitcoin network to transmit money to Madeira and vice versa? Yeah, and it doesn't stop there. We want to attract businesses to the island. We have a very, very tax-friendly jurisdiction for that, and individuals. So we want basically to create a community there, and yeah, we'll establish a Bitcoin business hub there with the support of the government, and grow from there.
You might be able to look at it almost like a bigger Bitcoin beach, right? Right, a lot bigger Bitcoin beach that's in the EU, that can become a test bed inside there with a government that's very friendly to where this is going, and driving success there that kind of spreads out from there because of the isolation.
We've also had discussions with, just recently, Matt Odell and Parker Lewis, who have given us insights into how Parker set up the Bitcoin Commons in Texas and how Matt has set up Bitcoin Park in Nashville. The same thing is going to be going on in Madeira under the Free Madeira Association. There will be a Bitcoin Commons opening up there, and with support again from the government, who I believe are going to help even source the building, perhaps even give over the keys to the building to make this thing happen. So it's real. This is happening. I will pause there if there aren't any more questions from the crowd. There's one there. Do we have a microphone? Oh, there's like 3 or 4. Good. Go. Okay, yeah, so the first question, how much autonomy does Madeira have away from the mainland? And the second one, how is the merchant adoption there so Bitcoiners can go and spend their sats?
So I can answer the first one. We are a semi-autonomous region. So we have our own local government, our own parliament. But there is so much we can do, especially in some areas. And as you were saying, the tax legislation, for example. We are still studying how much we can do or how much we can influence. We cannot like, if the mainland Portugal government decides to tax crypto, as there is a proposal already, it's nothing decided, but there is a proposal for that. We cannot just decide on ourselves not to do it, but we can apply a difference, for example, and we want to study some other realities, but we are still stuck with the government decision, let's say it like that. What we see is, like as Jeff was mentioning, as a test bed with the current Portugal Republic decisions and the EU, we can nevertheless create a Bitcoin-friendly jurisdiction there with other proposals and with the education and all the rest that we mentioned.
I'm just going to add on to that because I think this is important. Strategically, you can imagine being inside there. If you said, essentially, screw the EU, we're doing this, and you still need energy subsidies, or you're not completely self-reliant because your economy, you need subsidies in general, and that comes from the EU. Nobody's going to say yes to that, right? And so strategically, how do you make a case that actually makes a case stronger for every other nation doing the same thing? And you make a case stronger not by yelling at the existing system. What you make a case stronger is we critically need the jobs and talent that is building on top of the new base layer that's going to form the new internet. And we can easily stop those jobs and talent from coming here, but that means they go somewhere else. And as you start to make that case it doesn't just come through into Madeira, it comes through this initiative in every other region. There's lots of other regions talking about this same thing. And as those regions start to compete for talent in the same way, it accelerates the build to here. So it was, as we thought about how to do this in a way that could do that, that's very much in the thinking.
And as for merchant adoption, that's what one of the projects is to help merchants understand Bitcoin through the F.R.E.E. Madeira Foundation. At the moment, my experience there wasn't that many places yet. So that is one huge part of the organization to get out there.
Really limited, but as many of you know in this room, once you start to pay your taxi driver, just download this Lightning wallet, and I'll tip you in that. The light goes on, and then you rent a surfboard with the same thing, or you do this, and all of a sudden the light goes on, and it starts to build that network faster and faster and faster. So I suspect with an initiative like this, with actual money behind it and support from the government behind it to drive this adoption, I think you're going to see pretty quick adoption there.
That's where we need you, like to come to the island and help us spread the message, because we're just this group of people helping the Madeiran government do a smooth transition into the new paradigm. But of course, the more the merrier. The more Bitcoiners that are there, and the more Bitcoin companies that are there, trying to orange pill cab drivers and waiters, the better. So yeah, don't believe the FUD about this new taxes and everything. Like André said, it's a proposal at this stage, and even in that proposal, I think, like, if you hodl for 365 days, you don't have to pay taxes at all. Yep. So it's a forced hodl, so it's actually a good thing if it goes through. So
it's going to shake out the shitcoiners.
Yeah, it's and that's one of our main goals, to shake out the shitcoins. So yep. we're here to guide this process in the right direction, so Madeira doesn't become a Malta 2.0.
Exactly.
No, not to trash talk Malta, but to trash talk shitcoins. I mean, we hate shitcoins. So yeah, we're welcome to Madeira, and come there and spend sats and have fun with us.
Some more hands went up. There were some more questions. Gentleman there. Yeah.
No, just a credit-based system needs inflation too. So the credit-based system needs growth, and the growth rate cannot be achieved through the free market. So the debt has to be made cheaper through inflation, and so that's what's happening. And the faster and faster you do that process, actually the free market is destroyed, and the worse. And any free market left has to automate faster to be able to reduce price enough to people to drive into that, which will create more debt growth. So the existing system that we live in is unstable, and it's going to get more and more unstable, and that's going to cause essentially people to turn against people, like you're seeing now, nations to turn against nations as a result of that. Yeah. So the debt, if you lost your job and you had a house, or let's say you had a house worth $1 million, and you were getting paid $150,000, and then you got a job that paid $30,000, you couldn't pay back it would have to collapse. The debt, you wouldn't pay back, that would default, and the bank would own that default, and it would cause that collapse. If you don't get a growth rate in the economy that's high enough to pay back the debt, same thing happens in the overall structure. Exactly.
Thank you. And just over here on the...
And so just quickly onto that point, though, nations are stuck in the same thing, and nations are now seeing, wait, as this happens, I need to look after myself first, and global trade starts to break down in the same thing, and that's what turns. So we will believe leaders that tell us, no, it's not your fault, it's those people over there, it's their fault, and as people move inward, then global supply chains start breaking more and more, and you get a worsening of this whole effect. And so when I said ride a horse, the president is well aware of Madeira, and many other leaders are starting to become aware of this very issue. And they're starting to say, what horse could I ride that could save my people and give them a transition path, and I can attract more of a really great future prosperity built onto a new layer. That's what's happening.
That horse is a Trojan horse, by the way. It's from Troy.
Just here, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I guess don't force people to download a wallet against their will, which isn't going to happen in Madeira. Is there any other lessons?
Well, Jeff is much more knowledgeable about the El Salvador situation. Maybe you can comment on that.
Yeah, I've been, and I think, how many, just show of hands, who in this audience has been to El Salvador? And so the few that have probably noticed the same thing that I noticed. In Bitcoin world, everybody talks about El Salvador, everybody is using Bitcoin. When you go to Bitcoin, it's early. When you go to El Salvador, it's early. It's also very hopeful, but it's early, and it's early in that transition. And so if I said, could you imagine the president of Madeira saying, we're going to actually create a currency here, and we're going to change the currency instead of drive adoption? It might be a bridge too far, being inside the EU. So you're thinking about all of these strategies, and you're thinking about how to do something, because the most important thing is that he gets elected again, so he can continue the strategy. And the only way to get elected again, he needs to make sure that his citizens are gaining prosperity against what's happening. So when you talk about, from a strategic lens, you just have to think, how are these people going to get elected again in a cycle that's turning that's going other way? And you have to think. To me, you just have to think that through, because that's the real bet. So but yes, you're looking at what's happening in El Salvador. You're looking at what's happening everywhere in Bitcoin adoption. You're trying to bring the best of the ideas forward into a cohesive plan.
Sure. Yeah, I think something we heard a lot on the island is that Madeira has certain disadvantages, being separated by sea from everything. Many industries cannot flourish on the island, but they also have great fiber optic connections. Actually, it's been said already on this panel, but all of us were blown away repeatedly by the infrastructure of all kinds across the island. It's an incredibly developed place, as well as a beautiful and idyllic place. It's also highly developed. But there's fiber optic cable, and that sets up Madeira well for being a player in the digital economy. And so grand strategy for the island is, let's invest in what we're geographically suited for. And if Bitcoin is the base layer of internet money, then it makes sense for the island, in accordance with its overall strategy for its economy, to build a welcoming home for Bitcoin infrastructure to bring jobs, companies, and investors there, right? So it's a different setting from El Salvador, because there's already a strategy to target this sector of the economy, and Bitcoin fits in perfectly as sort of the internet of money.
And just another point there, it's an outer economic zone, right, Andre? Madeira.
Most region of the EU, I think, is the term.
Right, okay. Yeah. So there is, for those people out there that are building companies or have close ties with companies and might consider moving to Madeira, the International Business Center, who we met with, there's a 5% corporate tax, right?
Yes.
Do you want to explain to people how that works?
So we have a international business center where businesses can set up there and have this reduced corporate tax rate with a very small investment. And it's been a big success for Madeira for decades already. And the president saw the opportunity with this strategy that Troy was mentioning, that for the first time Madeira has a competitive advantage for the first time in history with this digital world that we live on, not bounded by physical issues that we have as an island. And within this overall strategy that the government wants to implement, and the president especially, again, he saw Bitcoin as being part of it, and this new layer of technology as being a foundation to support, basically.
Any more questions out there? Yes, right in the middle, straight up. Oh, that looks like my daughter. Okay, Lauren, come on then, fire away. Couldn't hear you, sorry. How did we feel like after visiting Madeira? Yeah, something like that. What did we accomplish in Madeira? Yeah, okay. Oh, damn, tough question. Was Mummy whispering in your ear there? Like,
hey, Lauren, why?
Yeah.
We drank a lot of poncha.
I was going to say, Jeff drank a lot of poncha, which is the island's national drink.
Regional.
What regional? What did we accomplish? Well, the setting up of the F.R.E.E. Madeira initiative, mainly, I think, is the big accomplishment out of that, where you know, you can grab any one of us. There were more people there. So if you see Obi walking around, you can ask him about it. These two guys behind the cameras, they were there. Joe Hall, you know, ask us a question. What did we accomplish? Probably people have got a different answer, but you guys go. What did we accomplish? Come on then, Knut. He's itching to go.
Well, the way I see it, hyper-Bitcoinization is happening regardless of this project exists or not. So we can either have a smooth transition to the other side or a rough one. And we're trying to make the transition smoother for this local place. So that's the accomplishment. We set up this non-profit to help guide the Madeiran government through the transition to the Trojan horse that is crossing the bridge, or whatever the metaphor is. Yeah, the organization is up. There's a website, and there's, this is the announcement. So, yeah.
Donations are welcome.
Yeah,
if there are any
they
whales out there. Of course, yeah, we're going to try and fund this thing, and that's an announcement. The any donations received will be matched 49%, I believe, by the government.
Yes. So the foundation the association needs to be privately funded for 50% or over, but the government will, you know, match euro by euro on the private funding part. We already have some funding. We're already starting. But most of the accomplishments are still to come, basically. This is just the kickstart of all of it. It was already very fast. And yeah, it's going forward.
Sure. Yeah, I just second what's been said. And also, I think what happened was relationship building and communication with more layers of government than just the president. The president was interested in Bitcoin, but it's quite another thing to go down through the administration. Many of those folks were not very educated about Bitcoin, so we did a lot of education that week. And you know, we met with the utility, talked about Bitcoin. That was fascinating. They had no idea what Bitcoin mining was at all, or its potential role. So you know, it was, I would say, relationship building, building an institution, and then beginning the hard work of education. And yeah, we orange pilled a lot of people on the, you know, but through like tipping, just taxi drivers, surf shop owners, etc.
Yeah, and the same thing, and then it happened in Lisbon too, right? And then we went to Lisbon and met with many different parties in Lisbon. And so that same thing, just like, I think in Bitcoin what ends up happening is once you know it, you believe everybody else knows it. And then you look at what they're doing through a lens of they have to know this, and they're evil, and you drive a further wedge around Bitcoin adoption from just that perception. What you realize when you talk to a lot of people in the existing system is they don't know it. They actually have no clue how fast this is moving, the network effect of both Bitcoin itself and the network effect of Lightning on top of it, or all of the businesses that are being built on top of this layer. They don't know, they don't see, for me, with having a venture capital company inside this space now and doing diligence on 320 companies already in the last 3 months, the innovation in this space and the smartest minds in this space building what's to come, if you're not a part of that, if you don't see that every day and you're part of another system, it would be easy to say, okay, this isn't important. And when that system is failing and getting worse and worse, just like a business when their system is failing, what they typically do is they go deeper into the system because they don't see a way out. And so these conversations, these relationships are critically important. Because now they take away, and those conversations persist, and people move along faster.
I think we have time for one final question. Oh my goodness, you guys are going to have to fight.
We'll be around afterwards.
Yeah, someone stand up and ask a question. Go. Yeah.
FreeMadeira.com.
That was quick. Someone else. There was one down here. So yeah, in the hat. Yep.
I love that question.
You know,
Be registered as a Bitcoin tourist?
yeah. I actually have some plans to track it because, well, mostly because the government also wants to see the impact of this, you know, where the public money goes and the investment that they're making on the initiative. So I want to track it, but of course without, you know, damaging, you know, the privacy of anyone. But yeah, I guess we'll get it naturally because I hope a lot of people will contact F.R.E.E Madeira directly when they want help, you know, or just have questions about the project. So I think it's going to become natural that we'll see all the influx of people and businesses and so on that are interested in the project.
Yeah, if you think about the rate of tourism increase in El Salvador and what happened there and their economy thriving on this, I expect the same thing to happen. And so yes, a whole bunch of people talk to Andre and F.R.E.E Madeira and be able to help with integration into that economy for businesses and the tax structure and other questions to be able to do it. But just the rate of growth in tourism, just alone from this, I expect to send a really good signal to the island. Because it doesn't take as much on a small nation, or 280,000, to be able to have a big tourism increase.
I think we've reached time there, guys. Is that time? Yep. Great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your questions.
Everybody.
Thank you so much for coming.